Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So two things I want to talk about. The first is a video I saw on Facebook, which was from Forbidden Knowledge TV. I'll put the link in the description. It was really interesting. I've seen similar things on YouTube before, mainly to do with the media.
I'd like to show you a few facts you can easily check, facts that are of crucial importance. Less than a handful of big corporations dominate every aspect of our lives. That may seem exaggerated, but from the breakfast we eat to the mattress we sleep on and everything we wear and consume in between is largely dependent on these corporations. Those are huge investment companies that determine the course of money flow. They are the main characters of the play that we are witnessing. I know your time is valuable, so I summarized the most important data. How does it work? Let's take PepsiCo as an example. It is the parent company of many soda companies and snack companies. The so-called competitive brands are from factories from a few corporations who monopolize the entire industry. In the packaged food industry, there are a few big companies, like Unilever, the Coca-Cola company, Mondelez and Nestlé. In the picture you see that most brands in the food industry belong to one of these corporations. The big companies are on the stock market and have the big shareholders in the board of directors. On sources like Yahoo Finance, we can see detailed company info such as who the biggest shareholders actually are. Let's take PepsiCo again as an example. We see about 72% of stock is owned by no less than 3,155 institutional investors. These are investment companies, investment funds, insurance companies, banks, and in some cases governments. Who are the biggest institutional investors of PepsiCo? As you can see, only 10 of the investors own together nearly 1/3 of the stock.
But this one had an overview of everything, and it was trying to show how all the companies that you can think of, all the brands around the world, are all invested by 10 companies, and 2 in particular that appear on all of them. Why it's called monopoly. I don't know how it's possible for these investment companies to have so many fingers in so many pies. I assume there's no monopoly commission against investment companies. I don't really know what it really means. You see, obviously they want to create the idea of that this means there's some machination, some great master plan, and maybe there is, I don't know. They try to link it with COVID and things like that. It is interesting. I did try and ask them some questions, but they didn't answer. They just sent me the subscribers link, which I was a little bit disappointed with, because they did have a place for contact, but it seemed like the contact was really to get you to be a subscriber so they could send you more of their videos. Because I wanted to know, like, if they're shareholders, if they invest in the company, they don't really own it technically, do they? They're investing in it, and what can a shareholder do? I know shareholders can vote on certain things, but can they make changes and things like that and demand things? I don't think they can do that, because maybe that's not the point. The point, I guess, they're trying to show is how the world is owned by these certain individuals. And the second question I want to know is, how do they ever get all this money to buy all these brands? I mean, it's everything. It's Amazon, it's Google, it's Microsoft, it's Samsung, it's Nike, whatever you want to call it. Everything, every brand you could think of, the things you wear, the things you drink, the things you eat, the things you watch, all of them are owned by these 10 companies. There's 2 companies in particular, Blackrock and Vanguard, have investment in all of them, and Vanguard especially. And when they tried to search who Vanguard was, it's a private entity, so they can't see who it is, but they speculated it might be the Rothschilds and the royal family and a few others. that may be involved in it. I think it was the Bushes and the Gates. I can't remember if that was a different part. It's a really interesting watch. What I don't know is how much verification has gone in it, or whether they've come out with some conclusions that aren't valid. I don't know. I'm the type of person that, you know, I want, you know, some backing up of that, not just claims, because it's easy to claim things and then people, you know, just watch it and say, oh yeah, that's 100% truth, like they do when they watch the TV. And we can't be truthers and do the same thing that the media does. But it was really interesting. It's worth a watch, and it just, maybe the main thing that it shows you is how, you know, because when they talked about the World Economic Forum and how it's meant to solve the world's ills, and yet the people who are involved in it, that it never happens. You know, there's all this money, all this, you know, talking. I mean, that's humans' problems in general. It's just we like to talk about things rather than really do them, and we put excuses in the way of achieving these things. So yeah, it was really worth a watch. It is a little bit scary because it does show how things can be manipulated, and they were trying to show with COVID and things, and you can see how if there is, you know, basically one company that owns everything, how easy it would be to manipulate things, to put things in place, maybe without actually telling people, but by the sheer control that you have of everything, because there's no competition, you know, because everything thinks the same way you do because you're the main shareholder. But I don't know, like I say, how much influence they really have.
Lost almost 150,000 hectares of forest in 2021, more than 3 times the area it would normally lose in a whole year. Italy has lost twice as much as it would normally do each year. So far, the wildfires in Greece haven't been any worse than normal. But with no rain in the forest until the second half of August, at least, that could change.
The other thing that really annoyed me is Sky News and this thing of statistics, and we saw this with COVID, how they, you know, I know there's the famous phrase, lies, damn lies and statistics, but this really shows how, because they're talking about climate change, they're talking about the Greece fires, they got areas lost to wildlife there. They've got this graph from the EFFIS, and it's got Greece, Italy and Turkey, and it's trying to show how bad the fires are, that the area lost to wildfires is worse in 2021 than the years that they picked. And what they've done is the usual thing, because it would be fair if they picked the year before, if they just did 2021 versus 2020 and see how it is, and then if it's more, then you can say yes, even though 2021 hasn't finished yet. But what they did sorry, is they did it against an average between 2008 and 2020. Now, why did they pick 2 years? Why did they pick that particular year? My guess is that what they've done is this is the problem with averages. If you've seen the Olympics recently, you'll see where they do two events and they do the average of them. And what happens with an average is usually it brings things down. Because if you've got, say, if you scored, say, 15 and then you scored 13, then the average would be, you know, 14. You know, it works them out. So I think what they've really done is, because they want to make out that there's been more area lost this year than 2020, because they realised that there wasn't more lost in 2020, or it wasn't so great maybe, they've added a year that was really bad. So that 2020 maybe was was high, and 2008 was really, really low, and therefore that would bring the average down and make it look like there was more area lost to wildfires this year. Otherwise, why did they pick that random year to average between 2008 and 2020? I'll put the picture in the video while I'm talking now so that you can see it. But to me, that seems like they're playing that statistic game. They're playing, you know, manipulation rather than actual factual truth, which the news should be doing. And why would you want to mislead people? Because, well, maybe from their point of view, it's not because they care about climate change, it's because they care about a story, and they've got no story. If they show 2020 and 21 and they found that there was more lost in 2020, then they can't talk about that, this year being worse due to climate change, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you have to always, the thing is, most people won't consider that and just to think, oh yeah, it's worse. rather than thinking, well, wait a minute, why did they use 2-year average against last year? We live in a world where you've got to do so much thinking, and if you don't, someone else is doing it for you, and then, God, you're in a world of trouble. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.